Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 favorite vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online right now. Now, I made a video a few months ago going over my overall top 10 vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online of all time, but every few months I like to make a video talking about my favorite vehicles to drive around right now in GTA Online, just so that you guys can see what I'm driving and maybe compare it to what you drive and try out some new vehicles that you may or may not like. Now, a lot of the vehicles on this list have been used in the Manhunt series that me and my friends do every single Monday on my channel and on my friends' channels every few days, pretty much. So anyway, we got a lot of cool vehicles on this list. If you enjoyed the video, a like is of course appreciated. If not, dislike. Consider subscribing. I'll go for 300k this year and I need your help to get there. Let's go ahead and get started with number 10. Now, starting things off with number 10, we have the very expensive Bravado Dorado Cruiser, costing $3,753,750 if you have the trade price, and if you don't, it's going to cost you $5,005,000. So a little on the steeper side. Now, what do you get for this price? Well, you get the Bravado Dorado, but with some police liveries and police lights and bull bars and things like that. Now, the reason that I like the Bravado Dorado Cruiser in all seriousness is because it is by far the best police car in GTA Online that is now purchasable and that we can use for off-road purposes. A lot of the other cars are rear-wheel drive only. In fact, I think there's only one other all-wheel drive police car, and that's the Granger Park Ranger, but that is exclusive to the Xbox Series S and X and PS5, or the expanded edition of GTA Online on the most current generation. So on last gen, this is pretty much all we have. Now, I will say the Bravado Dorado Cruiser is one of the faster police cars that we have in GTA Online. It's also all-wheel drive, which is really nice, and obviously that does help a lot for off-roading. This thing's super good for climbing mountains, and I have used this in a few manhunts now, and I have to say it is honestly kind of a blast to have. Now, also with the release of the most recent DLC, the Bottom Dollar Bounties DLC, of course, all of the police cars have had access to dispatch work added to them, and you can get this by being in the police car and accepting a dispatch work job, and this will pay you about $25,000 for completing it. So there's actually a little bit of utility to having a police car in GTA Online now. Now, is it a good way of making money? No, especially not for the ROI, but at least being able to make some money back for your extremely expensive police car purchases in GTA is kind of nice. So shout out to Rockstar for that. Maybe it should pay a little bit more, but honestly, it's better than nothing, I would say. But that's it for the Bravado Dorado Cruiser at number 10. Let's talk about number 9. Next up at number 9, we have the Canis Terminus, costing $1,877,500. This thing is an Amani Tech capable off-road class vehicle, and it is of course based off of the Jeep Wrangler. The Canis Terminus also has some really nice customization, and being that it is an Amani Tech capable vehicle, you can put the armor plating on it, the missile lock-on jammer, as well as oil slick proximity mines. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't get the bullet resistant windows or the front mounted machine guns that some of the previous Amani Tech cars have got in GTA Online. However, what it does get is insane performance in the off-road category. This thing is almost as fast as the Declasse Draugr, which is generally regarded as the best off-road class vehicle in the game. And the Canis Terminus, I must say, as a person who absolutely hates Jeep Wranglers and Jeeps in general, it actually looks really good, and it makes me almost want to reconsider my opinion. It's super cool looking, the customization's awesome, and the performance especially is just insanely good. You cannot deny how good the Canis Terminus really is. This thing is absolutely awesome, and I would definitely recommend looking into it if you guys haven't already. It's a really cool vehicle, and it's definitely worth owning in my opinion, at least. Next up at number 8, we have yet another police car, being the Vapid Dominator FX Interceptor, which is again very expensive, $3,712,500 for the trade price. If not, it's going to run you $4,950,000. The Vapid Dominator FX Interceptor, which very long name as well, by the way, is a pretty good police car. It's the second best performing police car in the game, right behind the Gauntlet Interceptor as well. Now, it's not quite as good as the Gauntlet Interceptor in most scenarios. However, in Sandy Shores, it does seem to get access to a little bit more of a increased top speed, more so than the Gauntlet Interceptor, which is pretty cool. It's also got a decent amount of customization. I'd say it's got more than the Gauntlet, which is nice as well. The performance is just generally a little bit worse, but the handling is about on par. I might even say that the Dominator FX has slightly better handling, and this thing is an absolute blast. We've used this in a few manhunts now, as I'm sure many of you have seen, but if you haven't seen those, you should definitely go and check those out. but it's a really good car. It's definitely something that I would look into if you guys have a lot of excess money. Now, if you don't have much money, I would say you're probably not going to want to look into the cop cars at all, but I can't lie, it is definitely one of my favorite vehicles that I have driven around a lot recently in GTA Online. At number 7, we got the Balakan N Visage, and this is going to cost you $2,472,000, which is an insane price tag, not going to lie. For the vehicle that you're getting, it is pretty much entirely not worth it. But the Balakan N Visage is kind of a really cool car. The customization alone on this car is almost worth it for the insane price tag to me. Plus it does have Imani tech, but it does not get access to armor plating or the oil slick proximity mine. You just get access to the missile lock-on jammer, which doesn't really do a whole lot for me, to be honest. It still will die in, you know, a missile, so it's not really too insane. However, I will say the performance is pretty good. This thing's pretty quick. It's actually faster than the overflawed Pipistrello in a lot of scenarios, which I have found, which is pretty crazy to think about. And it is a little bit cheaper than that, but it is still pretty expensive, especially when you consider that it's not the best sports car in the game and that it's, you know, 500 grand more than a Grotti GTO. Or an Ubermacht Niobe for that matter as well. So it's kind of really expensive. The customization is really cool. It's based off of the Hyundai Envision. Yeah, too expensive, but still definitely one of my favorite vehicles that I've driven recently in GTA Online. It has pretty nice handling. The acceleration for being rear wheel drive only is also pretty good. And the top speed for being electric also, in fairness, is not too bad. So it's a decent car, a little too expensive, but overall pretty cool. Next up at number 6, we got the Grotti Vigilante, costing $3,750,000. Now, I've been using this in heist preps a lot because I've been helping Twingo out with a video that he's coming out with in the near-ish future. And I've also been using it in manhunts, and this thing is a blast. It's really good because you can use it in those heist setup missions and things like that. And you do get access to missiles and those front-mounted machine guns, and of course the rocket booster, which makes it the highest top speed vehicle in GTA Online when you don't count speed glitches on last gen. The Grotti Vigilante is pretty awesome. It's really fun to fly around with this thing and like take jumps off the hills and things like that. And when we use it in Manhunt, it is an absolutely awesome vehicle. I think it's just incredible. It does kind of suck off-road, not gonna lie. That sort of really pisses me off every time we have to use it off-road, but once you kind of get used to it, it can be kind of okay. Overall, it's got a lot of utility for $3,750,000. If you plan on doing heist like setup missions and things like that, it's pretty worth owning, I would say. It's really quick, you're going to get around really fast, and it does get some good utility with the missiles and machine guns. So, pretty cool vehicle. That's it for number 6 with the Grotti Vigilante. At number 5, we have the Vapid Contender, costing $250,000. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't actually driven this much recently, but I have seen my friends driving these recently, and it is a really, really cool truck. And I am a big fan of the Vapid Contender, regardless of if I've been driving it recently. Unfortunately, it is a removed vehicle, so if you do want one, you're gonna have to find somebody who has a Contender and buy it off of them. So that is a little bit annoying. The Vapid Contender also doesn't have much in the way of customization. You can literally put like a canopy on it, I believe is the only thing you can do customization wise. And oddly enough, despite, yeah, it looks like a pickup truck, well, it's in the SUV category. So I'm not really sure what Rockstar was thinking. I have a feeling that they put it in SUVs because if they had put it in off-roads, it would have been way too fast for the class at the time, but I don't really know for sure. Overall, it's a really cool vehicle. It's pretty good off-road. It's got great ground clearance. I think it's an excellent looking truck as well. I would definitely recommend checking out the Vapid Contender if you guys get the chance to maybe purchase one or drive one of your friends. At number 4, we get the Canis Castigator. Now, I have driven this one recently quite a lot, and it goes for $1,650,000. And for that price, you are getting the best performing SUV on last gen in GTA Online, and this thing might even be able to give the Pfister Astron Custom with HSW a run for its money on new gen. This thing is stupid fast. It'll beat the Tauros in a drag race, and that's saying something because the Tauros has previously been the fastest SUV in the game in a straight line. And then this thing can also go around corners, which the Tauros really cannot. So that's just an added bonus for the Canis Castigator. It's also got some really nice customization. It's decent off-road. It gets a great launch, great acceleration, decent top speed, handles amazingly. It's really, really small as well, so it's quite nimble. You can get it into a lot of places that you otherwise couldn't get many big SUVs like the Tauros, for example. Now, unfortunately, it is going to cost you, and that is $1,650,000, which is about 5 times, a little over 5 times, what the Pegassi Toros will cost you. So a little on the expensive side. The price for performance is still pretty hard to argue against the Toros, but the Castigator, you can't really argue, is definitely the best SUV in the game right now. At number 3, we got the Buzzard Attack Chopper for $1,750,000. I've been using this thing quite a bit recently on my Xbox character and also my PC character, but primarily my Xbox character, just to get around simply. It is so good to have the Buzzard Attack Chopper. If you registered as a CEO, you can spawn it in through the CEO vehicles menu for free. Now, if you don't own it, it's going to cost you 25 grand every time you do it, but that is still, relatively handy to have. But what I like about it is whenever you're registered as a CEO, you can just quickly spawn in the Buzzard, get in it, and go and fly to wherever you need to go. And it's also one of the faster helicopters in the game, even to this day, despite being from 2013, which is pretty crazy to think about. But it's got missiles. They don't have the best tracking ever, but they're good enough to take out NPCs and things like that. It also has the most damaging machine guns in the entire game that will shred a jet, a helicopter, a car in little to no time at all, which is pretty cool. And it's very maneuverable. It's quite small. You can fit it into a lot of places that you couldn't get bigger helis, like the FH-1 Hunter or the Akula, for example. It's a really good helicopter. I would highly recommend it. And number 2, we have the Benefactor Vorschlaghammer. I think I said it right, Germans. Maybe. This thing goes for $1,790,000, and for that price, you are getting an excellent 4-door Mercedes vehicle in GTA Online based off the AMG Hammer. You could even argue that it's based off the 190E. A lot of people say it's not, but I don't see how it couldn't be because it is still a 4-door version, and if I'm not mistaken, the Hammer only came in a 2-door variant. So anyway, regardless of that, it's a really cool car. It's got some really good customization. Now, it doesn't have a lot of customization, but I would say that the customization is good. It's got some cool things you can do to it that you couldn't really do to many other cars in GTA Online. It does have a pretty limited amount of liveries, I must say, but it also gets access to the drift tuning modification as well. So you can turn this thing into a drift car, and I must say, I think this is the best drift car in GTA Online. I don't know what it is, man. This thing just feels so consistent to me. I have a feeling it's something to do with the slightly longer wheelbase of the car, but also how skinny the vehicle is at the same time. It just feels like a dream when you're drifting this thing. It's really, really good, really consistent, looks awesome while drifting as well. I just really don't think you can go wrong with the Vorschlaghammer. I just don't think you can. It's a really cool vehicle. Definitely look into this one. Now, for a couple of honorable mentions, we have the Grotti Italia GTO, starting us off for $1,965,000. This thing is like the #1 sports car in the game. Now, it does have some new rivals that have come out very recently in the Panhard Lecarousse, as well as the Übermacht Niobe. On last gen, I still think it's probably the most consistent sports car in the game when it comes to racing around circuits and things like that. It's pretty quick, it's all-wheel drive, gets good acceleration, good launch. It has a pretty decent top speed and the handling is pretty fantastic. And it also gets a huge bonus from curb boosting and going over jumps and things like that. Very cool car, very good looking car with some excellent customization as well, I must say. The GTO is definitely one of my favorite vehicles of all time, but it is still one of my favorite vehicles right now, for sure. And for our last honorable mention, we have a vehicle that can pretty easily smoke the Grotti Italia GTO, and this is the Übermacht Niobe with HSW. Now, this is going to cost you $1,880,000 for the initial price, plus an additional $1,800,000 for the initial HSW upgrade, and that's not counting like the stage 3 turbo and the next engine upgrade and like all that stuff. So very, very expensive vehicle. However, it is by far the fastest sports car in GTA Online. In fact, I do believe it is the fastest vehicle for racing in GTA Online, other than the Hakuchu Drag HSW, which is crazy to think about. This thing is so fast. It's all-wheel drive, has crazy acceleration. The top speed is in like the 160s with HSW applied to it as well. So just insanely fast. And it looks amazing. It's based off of the BMW i8, which I actually am not really a fan of in real life. I think that car is kind of pathetic, but in game, it's absolutely awesome, and the customization is super sick for it. I think this is definitely one of the best cars in the entire game right now. It's really hard to argue that it's not, and it certainly is one of my favorite cars in the game right now as well. Despite me not really liking it all that much, it's pretty hard to deny just how good the performance is. And at number 1, my favorite vehicle right now in GTA Online is the De Classe Drager We used these recently in a manhunt chasing NPC, which you guys will probably be seeing, I think today actually, when this video comes out. But if it doesn't come out today, you will see it in the coming days. Now this thing goes for $1,402,500 for the trade price, and if you don't have the trade price, it's $1,870,000. So a little bit on the expensive side. However, you are getting, as I previously mentioned in this video, the #1 best off-road class vehicle in GTA Online that has 4 wheels. It's absolutely insane. It's so good off-road. You can climb damn near vertical in this thing. It's super consistent on off-road tracks as well. It basically feels like it's glued to the road despite having quite a bit of ground clearance as well, so it's pretty good for rock crawling. It can seat 4 players. The customization isn't that awesome, but you can change quite a bit on it. It just won't look all that different. Still, really cool vehicle. Definitely one that I would recommend looking into. It is an awesome truck. You guys should definitely own a Drogger, man. It's really hard to go wrong with the Drogger. This thing is so awesome. Anyway, guys, there you have it. Those are my picks for my top 10 favorite vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online right now. Let me know what you thought of my list in the comment section down below. I mean, it is my favorite vehicle, so there's not much you're going to be able to say to change it. But in a few months, when I make another one of these, things probably will have changed. Let me know what your 10 favorite vehicles in GTA Online are right now though. Comment a 7 if you made it to the end of the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you didn't of course. Consider subscribing. As I said at the start, I'm going for 300k this year and I need your help to get there. And I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.